Hello, it's Rob here and welcome to the first of my build series on the Tamiya Monster Beetle Black Edition 2015 release, or re-release should I say. We're going to start with parts bag A, which is steps 1 to 12, or really 2 to 12, because step 1 is just putting the battery on charge. And step 2 is building up the chassis. And for this we're going to need 2 times BA2s, which are 3x10mm screws. We need 4 BA5s, which are 4x12mm tapping screws. 2 BA19s, which are spacers. And 1 BA23, which is 64, even 6x48mm shaft. And then on the plastic part side we need, I'd say that's the right side of the chassis A2, the left side A6, we've got part A5, which I think is the battery holder to do with, and then we've got parts A8, C14, H1 and C3, and then we're also going to need a bit of this foam strip that has been supplied by Tamiya, and as you can see I've already cut it to length here and stuck it down so we can crack on with putting it all together. So I think we'll start with A2 and C3, I think. Looks like a good place to start, it says. And I think it goes there, does it? Yes. So we'll spin this around a bit and we'll get 2 of these BA5s, and it's just a simple case of screwing them in as it is with most Tamiya kits. You just tend to need 3 hands to start with on some of these bits. There we go. And then I think we'll do this BA23, which goes there, I believe. And again, should just simply screw on. And I think what I'll do is once the other side's on, I'll get a couple of screwdrivers and tighten both of those ends up, because I can't grip that very well and I don't want to use pliers or anything. And then we can slot in these 2 spacers here. And then noting the direction or the orientation of this A8, I think it just slots in there. Yep. And then A5, we spin it over and it should sit in there. And I think I'm going to need half a dozen hands here, because we also now need C14. Goodness me, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Let's pop that in there. This goes in that way up and goes in there. I'm going to try and line it up with this slot here and then see how we go. And then this little beast has to go in there. And then somehow you have to join all these together. Come on, you can do it, Rob. You can do it. Take some doing. And then it's just a case of putting these 3 screws in. And there we have step 2 finished. I'm assuming that they'll be pulled together somehow at some point. So we can move on to step 3. Step 3 is installing the suspension stays, as Tamiya are calling them, and the front end ones are BA26, which are these aluminium lightened brackets. Couldn't think of my words then. And then we're going to need 4 times BA1, which are 3x20mm screws, 2 BA6s, which are 3x12mm tapping screws, and 2 BA8s even, which are 3x12mm flanged screws. And as you can see here, there's a slightly different colour to these, so you don't get them mixed up. In step 4 there's a BA9, which is a 3x10mm flanged tapping screw, which I did get out originally, but then when I measured it up against the scale plan here, I thought that's too short, and then I noticed they were different colours. So, small tip for you there, just make a note of if they're shaded or not to determine which screws you're going to need. On the plastic part side, we're going to need J9, which is, shall we say, the left rear shock mount, and J8, which is the right one, and then this part A7, which is part of the ESC switch mount. And the reason we've got the 2 different screws is we want the flanged ones on this side with the J9 to hold this in place. So we also need, as I say, the chassis, which we need to turn round so that it's the right way up. And again, I'm probably going to need 3 pairs of hands. Pop it round so we can see the screws. And then we can do the same for the other side, again noting that the flat edge goes up against there. And then we need 2 of these long things. Again, check the orientation, so we've got the slope pointing up, and I'm not seeing which holes. So this side here says the front on the one, and it should just slot in there, and this is going to screw into that spacer, which is why it's the fine thread. And because this is metal screw on a metal nut, shall we say, we can tighten these up fairly tight. And again, we do the same for the other side, and then that should close the chassis together. we have step 3 complete, ready to go on to step 4. Step 4 is installing the servo and the ESC into the chassis. Interestingly, there's quite a few notes about the size of the ESC that you can put in this position, or if yours is too large for this, you can stick it on the back here at some other point if you turn over the page and stuff. But I thought for now I'm going to try it like this. So it tells you the double-sided tape to use, so that comes with the kit, so I've already done that and stuck it on. And then it's really, oh, I've left my ESC in. I've just set the receiver in. I've just gone through setting up the TBLE with the neutral and high and low points on the throttle and all of that, so I just need to install it. And to mount the servo we just need 2 BA9s, which are 3x10mm flanged tapping screws, and it goes in between these two bars here. This one, although is stiff, can slide in and out a bit if you've got it in the wrong position. I think I had to slide it out just like 1/2 mil so that I could get this in position. So it's just a simple case, it says, of feeding cables through for now. I'll probably feed that back out once it's all in place, and then sticking it in position like so. And as the diagram shows, just put your screws in a crossways orientation. Step 5 is installing the receiver, and it gives you a suggested position. And from this, I've already done that. I managed to find one of my new 2.4 gig transmitters, so no wibbly wobbly unless I stick it in just for old time's sake. It also shows you where to mount the on-off switch for the ESC, and then below here there's a note for if you wish to mount your ESC somewhere else, so it can go on this little shelf here if you wish, which I might do, I'm not sure yet. As I say, I've already stuck it onto the servo for the minute, just to give it a bit of weight near the front, because the motor's going to be somewhere around here, I think. So we've also got to fit this other strengthening bar, as I'm calling it, which is BA23 6x48mm, and for that we're going to need 2 BA2s 3x10mm, and then to mount the switch we need 2 BA3s, which are 2x6mm screws, and 2 BA15s, which are 2mm washers. And again, it's just a simple case of screwing it all together. The bar goes, if I can't pick it up, there we go, in this position. I'm not really sure why you wait till now to put this in, but hey, there we go. I'll do the other side in a bit, and this is where the switch goes. Quite a big mounting point and lots of big slots. Like that, and then we just need to do the other side, and then we can move on to step 6. Step 6 is all to do with the steering tie rods and the servo saver, and basically we need 2 times BA18s, which are 5mm ball ends, 4 times BA20s, which are 5mm adjusters, these plastic things. 1 off of BA21, which is 3x71mm threaded shaft. And BA22, which is 3x50mm threaded shaft. And then on the plastic parts we need K5 and E9. Now, as you can see, I've already made these up because you're just screwing them on. What I found the easiest is to just start both ends off and then just keep turning them, and you'll find as one tightens up the other one will start to screw in, and they generally roughly self-center, shall we say. And these are to scale, so all I've done is laid them down to get the starting point, and you want both ball adjusters in line with each other like that. And then for the ball connector, it just simply screws into K5, and that's about it, like that. And then E9 simply slips over, he says, like so. And then looking at the diagram, we've got the shorter one, BA22, which clips in this side, and it is suggesting you use some pliers, which I do think I may need. And then we have the steering all ready to go, so we can move on to step 7. Step 7 is all about checking your RC equipment and installing the servo saver and steering arms. Now, because of all the differences with people's personal choice of RC equipment and servos and stuff, I'm not really going into too much detail on this, other than to say for the one that I've got, which is a Tamiya servo, I've used J7, which is the Futaba mount, and I've also used BA4, which is the 2.6 by 10mm threaded screw, because it's a metal geared servo. And then we need this the servo saver and steering arms, and then also plastic part K6, which is like a spacer stroke bush which goes over the screw. And I've already gone through checking the electronics, and I've centered the servo as best as I can, and it's just a simple case of clipping it on, and then I think we could use this screwdriver. Yeah, and that's step 7 complete. There's quite a bit of notes on all of this concerning different servos and different screws that they supply for different servo gears, whether they're plastic or metal, etc. So with that, we can move on to step 8. Step 8 is the front axles, and as you can possibly see there, quite a lot of nuts and bolts and things. So to begin with, we need 8 off of BA1s, 3x20mm screws, 2 off of BA6s, 3x12mm tapping screws, 2 off of BA13s, which is 3x32mm screw pins, 8 off of BA16s, which are 3mm flanged locking nuts, 2 off of BA18, which are 5mm ball connectors, and 2 off of BA24, which are the front axles, which are quite beefy. And plastic parts, we need J3, J4, J2, J5 and K8 and K1, and then it's just a case of building these up as a left and right pair. A note here is when you install or when you screw together these uprights or C connectors, it tells you to temporarily install BA13. I'm assuming to make sure that it all lines up properly, so we'll give that a go. But it sounds like a bit of a pain, but I think I'll start with BA6, which looks like it will hold both sides together, and then we can get on with the nuts and bolts side of it. So I'm checking my orientation like that, and then we'll start to screw this beast in. So we'll carry on with that and be back to you once I've finished them. Right, now these are all put together, we need to install these K1 and K8 along with the front axles, and if we look down here, it's telling us to apply some grease to this pin. So let's just try and get things. I've already put the ball joint on, by the way, and I do apologise if you can hear loads of noise, but one of my neighbours seems to have some building work going on. So I'll pop that there. I'll stick a bit of this ceramic grease on, and we should hopefully be able to just slide that through and then tighten it up, and that's quite a tight fit when you slide it in, so it shouldn't be too bad. Check my orientation again. And there we have two front axles ready to go, and we're now ready for the next step. Step 9 is attaching the front uprights, and for this we're going to need 2 off of BA12s, which are 3x20mm step screws, 2 BA16s 3mm flange nuts, 2 BA17s which are 3mm nylock nuts, 2 BA25 which are the radius arms, the 2 front axles from earlier on, and then plastic parts, 2 off of each, H2 and H3. And as you can already see here, I've installed the one set, and it's a simple-ish case of installing H3, putting one of the step screws through, getting one of the flanged nuts, we can screw on the nylock nut, and there's a little note down here that says screw in as shown, and it shows that the nylock nut is, or the radius arm, is a tiny bit proud of the nylock nut, so you don't want to tighten it too much or do it up too much. Hopefully you can see there that the radius arm Slides up and down like so. I don't know whether that's right, but I'm just going from this diagram. To me it doesn't quite look right, but we'll see how we go. So with that done and that one done, we can move on to the next steps. Step 10 is attaching the front axles, and for this step we're going to need obviously the chassis and the axles, and we're also going to need 2 off of BA10, which are 3x14mm step screws, 2 off of BA12s, which are 3x20mm step screws, 2 off of BA14, which are 4mm washers, which I've just remembered I forgot to get out, and 2 off of BA17, which are 3mm nylock nuts. And it is a simple case, he says, of slotting these little beasts in. At the bottom, and getting one of the longer step screws. And then the last part of this step is to install the radius arms using the shorter step screws and a washer. So I'll move these two out of the way, bring this back in, the washer, that out of the way. Have the front axles complete. Oh no, I almost forgot. Thought it was a bit strange. We then connect the steering rods, and again, because I'm feeling a bit lazy, I'm going to use my pliers. And there we have the front axles almost installed. As you can see, we've got those arms there to put in, and that will be on the next step. Step 11 is installing the front damper stay, which I believe is this piece J11, and we're also going to need 2 BA11 3x22mm step screws and 2 BA17s 3mm nylock nuts. And might be a bit tricky this one, because we've got to get this step screw through this beast and these beasts. There we go. Should have got my screwdriver on it first. And there we have the front axle mounted, ready for the last step in this video, which will be step 12. The final step of parts bag A is step 12, which is attaching the dust cover, which is this part here, G9. We've also got E7, which is the front body mount, and interestingly Tamiya suggests that you stick a couple of decals on this bit at this stage, so as you can see I've already done that, the Monster Beetle stuff and the Black Edition thing. And then we're going to need 5 off of BA6 3x12mm tapping screws, and the chassis obviously, and this just goes over here somehow like so. So I think I may need to tuck them in there. And with that, that completes this episode of our build series. I hope you've enjoyed watching it, and look forward to seeing you on the next one for parts bag B, which will be steps 13 to 18. Thanks for watching, bye!